All right, advancements in ancient China. Go ahead and jot down a few notes. You guys can definitely use some of this information and put it in your travel brochure. So, first things first, education. During Han Dynasty, rulers really valued education and teaching people about Confucius. In order to be in the civil service, you had to be educated in his teachings. We will later on in the week learn more about him and his teachings. Arts and scholars flourished during this time. Expressive poetry reflected on their culture. They put together the first dictionary in their language. And how do we know so much about ancient China? Well, thanks to this guy right here, Sima Qian or Sima Qian, he spent his life writing the history of China from mythical times to the reign of Wudi. His work is called Historical Records and is considered one of the best works from this civilization. And his quote, I wish to examine all that encircles heaven and man. I want to probe the changes of the past and the present. All right, so the Silk Road. Established during the Han Dynasty, it is an ancient trade route from China to Europe. New goods and ideas and religion traveled across from China to the Mediterranean Sea. So this is how people really communicated and interconnected. They didn't just trade objects, they definitely traded ideas and shared them across. Travelers had to pass through challenges such as mountains and deserts. It went through Persia, Mesopotamia, and into the city of Antioch, which is present-day Turkey. This is how they traded with Rome, Greece, Egypt, and many more. So I like to think of the trade route. The trade route wasn't literally just a road. It was a network of trade routes which traveled through the land, but also they did definitely travel through the sea. And it wasn't just one straight through line. It definitely broke off into smaller sections. And travelers, it was very, very rare for travelers to travel the whole route. They stopped in one destination, one city, and they passed on the goods. Let's say someone wanted to trade silk to Persia. They would come, stop in a city, trade their goods for the price, let's just say in American money, $5, and then it passed on. And every time that the person stopped in a city, that price would go up. So if this traveler now has silk, he went to this city, it went up to $10. This city, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Eventually, when it got to Persia, it was probably 10 times the amount than where it started. Because people got to make a profit, man. All right. Now moving on to the actual item, silk. It is a valuable cloth made in China. They raised silkworms, weaved, and dyed this silk. Silk was so precious that if the workers revealed the methods, the punishment would be death. Europeans, especially the Romans, loved silk. The wealthy would pay high prices for it, and the wealthy Chinese in return paid high prices for horses, ivory, glass, and linen. So that's how some of the Chinese got their domestication of cattle and sheep and goats and horses, because they traded it off during using that trade route. And in China, China was the only country at the time that sold silk because the silkworm was native to that country, and that's how they make their silk, is literally from these little guys right here. All right, paper. They used to use wooden scrolls and bones to write on before the invention of paper. Then, in 105 AD, they created it. It was first made from tree bark, hemp, and old rags. They would soak these materials together in water, beat it up into pulp, and lay it out flat to dry. Paper opened doors for learning and the arts. This really heavily influenced people to learn new things and trade ideas in writing form. After centuries, it made its way to Europe and Egypt. And lastly, gunpowder. Gunpowder was accidentally made. Ironically, alchemists were creating an elixir for immortality, which is very ironic, but it was a mixture of sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal. It was originally used when they did invent it. It was originally used for signals and fireworks to scare off evil spirits. Eventually, it was used for military affairs, and this led to the development of cannons and fire arrows. All right, and just a quick look at my works cited. And there you have it. Have some ideas and questions when you come in class so we can discuss about this and move on what you guys are going to be researching.